Number 15, this is an interesting point. Science, the science, has evolved into a secular pseudo-religion for millions of people, particularly in the West. And this religion has very little to do with science itself. Raise your hand if over the past year and a half you've heard this phrase, follow the science. Oh, wow, okay, it's popular in the US too. How about trust the experts? Anyone heard that? Okay. So all around the world, these two phrases are being parroted millions and millions and millions of times. But are people truly following the science? I mean, firstly, I'm yet to have someone explain to me how you can spread a virus that you do not have. Right? Like, that's quite a key part of all of this, is it not? Or how, I mean, every country I've been to, there's this strange ritual. Maybe it was here in the USA as well, where you're supposed to wear a mask as you enter the restaurant, and you walk to your seat, and then you sit down, and you take it off. And this somehow is supposed to, I mean, science? I don't know about that one. I don't know. Or also, I mean, talking about the USA, I mean, I was keeping an eye on this place over last summer, and I was mind-blowing. I was reading sources in the media where it was confirmed that anti-lockdown rallies, Trump rallies, all of these were super spreader events. To have the media 2 weeks later tell me that BLM rallies and protests, not only were they not super spreader events, but they actually reduced the spread. I mean, this virus is smart. This virus is smart. It's very, very partisan. But ultimately, science is supposed to be a process and a methodology. It's not an institution. I know that your Lord and Savior, Lord Fauci, claimed that he himself is the science. What an audacious claim. I sort of admire that in a way. But I have a theory that in the absence of God, people are going to worship something else in many cases. And oftentimes that can become the state, or it can become some weird notion such as the science. And that's about as anti-scientific as you can get. Lesson number 15. If it can't be questioned or challenged, then it is not science. It's dogma. Don't outsource your own capacity to think to so-called experts and scientists. Always verify. Number 16, most people care more about looking like they're doing the right thing rather than actually doing the right thing. I think this is a fundamental thing that people should understand when it comes to politics and when it comes to society in general. This is really what the difference is between so-called virtue signaling and actually simply being a virtuous human being. Lesson number 16, before you make any statement or take an action, especially one that significantly impacts other people, consider if what you're doing is right or if it merely appears to be right. Does it simply sound good or does it actually do good? Very, very important thing to think about, especially for anyone who wants to get into politics perhaps in the future. Number 17, ooh, this is a big red pill here. Politics, the media, science, and the healthcare industries are all corrupt to varying degrees. Scientists and doctors can be bought as easily as politicians. Now, I know that there are many wonderful people in this field. I myself know plenty of them. However, as I've said before, profit and the pursuit of power can be very, very corrupting forces. And we can also have perverse incentives. We have to remember that doctors and scientists, not so long ago, just a few decades ago, were used to promote smoking, used to promote sugary sodas, encourage babies to drink 7-Up, etc. The food pyramid, terrible nutrition choices, and other harmful things. It's always important to look at who is funding a particular study. So lesson number 17. Understand that corruption exists in virtually every field. Human beings are fallible, and no sector is immune from perverse incentives. So that's something to always keep in mind. Coming up to the last couple points. Point number 18. If you make people comfortable enough, they will not revolt. You can keep millions docile as you strip them of their rights by giving them food, money, and entertainment. Now, here's an interesting thought over the past 18 months, which is that, and I haven't seen many people talk about this, and this is that technology really enabled the response to this pandemic. If this had happened in the 90s or even in the early thousands, it wouldn't have been possible to just take millions and millions of children out of school and tell them to do remote learning or have people send people home and tell them to use something called Zoom to do all of their work. It's interesting because we don't talk much about what's been going on in my, I guess, home continent of Africa, but a lot of these types of lockdowns and measures were not even an option over there because of technology. And there's been very little talk of how technology has even enabled a lot of what's happened over the past 18 months. And it's also interesting to see how the USA has gone from millions of people losing their jobs to having millions of jobs open and nobody to fulfill them. Well, I mean, it's hard to get people working if you're paying people to sit at home and to do absolutely nothing. And why are people comfortable with this? Why are there actual people who want these measures to continue forever? It's because they're so comfortable. People have Netflix, Uber Eats, all of that good stuff, and they're happy to sit there forever. So lesson number 18, understand that comfort is a cage, and most people will seek the path of least resistance when it comes to most activities. If you want to live a fulfilling life, however, sometimes you have to take the path of greater resistance.